Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Tonight we have a very special guest for you. We have 2 a.m. Ricky. He's a musician, and I'd like to tell you all a little bit more about 2 a.m. Ricky before we bring him onto the show. He's renowned for his global impact in dispelling misconceptions surrounding mental health, reproductive justice, and the transgender experience, recording artist and cultural influencer. 2 a.m. Ricky uses his platform to uplift marginally perceived communities and amplify the LGBTQ plus advocacy in media, effectively increasing trans awareness through storytelling on a significant scale. With sounds inspired by Andre 3000, Tyler the Creator, and Pharrell Williams, the genre bending lyricist combines captivating rhymes, hypnotizing melodies, and dynamic performances to deliver a musical experience like no other. Ricky's latest single, Move, debuted at number 12 on the US iTunes electronic charts and peaked at number 3, marking a historic milestone as the first Black trans masculine artist to attain this recognition. His musical portfolio includes collaborations with notable talents such as CeCe Peniston, Tyler Perry Studios, Angelica Ross, Zeus Network, and more, recognizes as a 2024 Forbes Black History Maker. Ricky plays a pivotal role in shaping brand strategy, creative direction, and development of queer and gender expansive creativeness. Through partnerships with Lambda Legal, GLAD, and other advocacy organizations, he has helped define language and best practices for safety and harm reduction techniques, diversity in marketing, mental health in music, and strategies to increase access to reproductive health resources and improve policies surrounding care for trans men. His expertise has been featured on notable platforms such as Revolt Black News, The Honey Pop, The Pit London, New York Today, Women's Health, and the advocacy. Ricky is the current chief marketing officer for the VDOM, an ultra humanistic prosthetic genital that makes intimates that imitates nature and goes from flaccid to erect at a push of a button. In 2023, he partnered with Tears Free Academy to provide an alternative diploma program and educational resources to rural and low income Georgia communities in an effort to combat socioeconomic issues in education. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to the show 2 a.m. Ricky.
What's
Hello,
going
sir.
on, Charles? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. Hey, it's wonderful to have you here on the show.
It's wonderful to be here.
So, is there anything you'd like to add to your bio?
I mean, do I got enough letters behind it yet?
I tell you, I'm just, I'm glad that at this point, because last month was like a horrible month for me because I had some issues going on personally. But I couldn't have had a better start to the month of August than having you on the show.
I appreciate that, man.
So, if there's nothing else to add, then I guess we can just jump right on in.
Let's
Is
do it.
okay. So what inspired you to pursue music, and how has your journey as musician shaped your identity?
For me, I've always been a storyteller. And so I, at a young age, learned the power of my voice, the power to influence people with your words, whether it be speaking, whether it be poetry, whether it be music, and going through multiple situations from abuse and neglect, to graduating early and actually had my best friend who was murdered on my college campus. Having to navigate those experiences and not really having a lot of place to find safety and solace, especially as a young brown child in the South, because I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Music was my escape. And as I realized people were able to connect to it, people were able to learn from it, people were able to heal through my words and through my voice, I said, well, let's use this superpower for some good.
I know that's right. So, you say you're from Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
I am.
So, can you tell me how did you migrate over here to Atlanta? What brought you here?
Music. Like I said, I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I went to North Carolina Central University. I actually graduated high school at 16. So I got literally thrown to the wolves real early. And
Wow.
yeah, and so at the end of my junior year, I remember my advisor pulling me in the room and just telling me like, you need something different. We need you to be able to get somewhere safe. Because again, at that point, my best friend had been murdered. He had passed. Somewhere safe for your mind, somewhere safe for your spirit, and somewhere that you can really flourish, finish your education, but also look at what's next for you. And for me, Atlanta was always a place that seemed like a mega city. It wasn't too far. It was real black. It had entertainment. So I was like, all right, I'm about to hit the jackpot. I packed up my car after my finals. I had like $200 in my pocket in a little old Lexus and drove to Atlanta and never looked back.
Wow. See, that's an inspiring story because I'm gonna take it that that meant that you believed in you and you knew that whatever you was going to do, you were going to succeed.
Yeah. I believed in my music. I believed in my own power.
Wow. So, who are your biggest musical influences and how do they impact your sound and style?
Well, I could not start off without mentioning my mentor, Miss Cece Peniston. She has been an amazing influence, not only in the music, not only in queer culture, but in my life. She helps me balance, helps me navigate. I'm 26, so y'all heard my bio. That's a lot of stuff for somebody in their 20s.
Right.
And to have someone who's navigated the industry really helped me guide me, has really made a great impact on my life. Of course, I'm a big fan of Tyler the Creator, Pharrell Williams, Andre 3000. I listen to a lot of Muddy Waters. I
Oh,
listen to a lot of Diane Warwick. You can see her right there on my wall.
yeah.
Lil Richard, Rick James, James Brown. I study a lot of legends in music and a lot of different genres.
Okay. So, what do you consider the genre of your music? I mean, like, what category does it fall in, or is it just all across the board?
It doesn't fit into one. Sometimes people will try to tell me that I'm R&B, but I tell them I don't hit enough ooh yeahs and runs to be R&B.
Okay.
I would say I'm a blend of what people would like to call chill house, which
Okay.
is a blend of almost like house dance music and neo soul. So I would say I'm like a blend of chill house and alternative hip hop.
Okay. That okay. I feel that. I think it was when because I'm like way well, I don't want to tell my age, but um,
You don't
when
look a day past 39. What you talking about, Charles?
oh yeah, thank you for that. But when alternative music first came out in the 80s, I was actually in the military and I was in Virginia and alternative music was like flying like crazy. It was like on fire.
Yeah.
And from that point to now is still here. But the thing is, I think with here in the industry, when it comes to music, I think so many people that are into like, let's say maybe they may start out in one particular genre. Is it like
Hmm.
a thing now that everybody now is trying to go cross sectional to like blend into many different categories and just fit? Is that the way it's working now?
I think that you fit into whatever feels right for you. Um, I'm a chameleon as a human, and I'm a
Okay.
chameleon with my art. And so my demographic is very broad to the point that I'm not an artist who could only make trap music because my reach is bigger. You know what I'm saying? It's beyond that and it's bigger than that. And
Right.
so for me personally, I have to be multidimensional. I have to be able to make sure that 2 a.m. kind of spreads across the board to reach everyone. You have artists like Beyonce, who Beyonce is on a similar caliber. Her audience's demand requires her to be able to stretch herself. But then you have other artists who are like Erica Badu, and Erica Badu can Badu her the rest of her days, and we
I
don't have to
do is
worry about Erica doing no pop song or nothing crazy.
yes. Yeah. So what has your work been like in the communities? In the underserved communities. What are some of the things that you're doing there to help build some of those communities?
So with everything that I do, I focus on helping to bridge that gap and bridge the intersection between what does advocacy look like and what does entertainment look like. Black and brown communities are very under marginalized, especially entertainment. And when you look at your black queer folk, your black trans and non-binary folks, we are doggone near invisible. And so for me, it means going into these spaces and be able to have conversations about what does visibility and representation mean and what is the importance of it. How do people, whether you're the entertainer needing to leverage your platform to be an advocate and speak out for your community, or whether you're on the other man and you're the business person or the host or you know what I'm saying, the organization leader, and you need to curate safer spaces. I help people with developing their strategic communications. I help them with build out their storytelling and overall give community their voice back in media and entertainment.
Oh wow. That was one of the reasons why when I first talked to you when we connected on LinkedIn was like the one thing I thought is like this is what American Black and White is for and this is what it's about. That's why I had to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Um, Tell me about your creative process. Can you walk us through your creative process when writing and producing music?
Oh man, I look for a feeling. I think that especially when it comes to production, I'm very production heavy, and I think anyone who listens to my music, I think you might be able to tell that. There are a lot of beats that sound good. Not everything stirs somebody's spirit and moves them. And in every production, I need people to move in some way or form or fashion. So I'm very, very intense on my production aspect. And then when it comes to building out creatively the actual record, I'm a storyteller. So I look at, okay, if this is what we feel, now what's the story we telling? And how can I paint the full picture? It's a difference between me saying, Charles, I like that blue shirt. And
Okay.
me breaking that down poetically to tell you why do I like about that? How does that blue pop out your eyes and your skin tone and make your melanin kind of glow a little differently that I can appreciate? You know what I'm saying? And really taking the time to do that. And that's when you're writing a song, that's what you're doing. You either can go on the surface or you can go below the surface. And I try
Right.
to figure out a way to make sure that we can always go below the surface to really connect.
Wow. That's real creativity. That's real creativity. So, like when you was mentioning earlier, like some of the things that you do when you reach out to help to build the communities and so forth. So, like, do you go and do you like just specifically put on some events that you do, or are you just doing advocacy a whole lot?
I do a lot of advocacy. I also do event curation. So like right now, we are moving to the polls. If y'all have not heard, I have a record called Move and went number 3 on the iTunes charts. Go check it out if you haven't. Shameless plug. But we have a campaign right now to move people to the polls. It's election season, which is a pivotal time of the year. But for music professionals, it's also Grammy season, which means anyone in the music industry, they're thinking voting, but they're thinking in another direction. And so Move to the Polls is a way to express the importance of civic engagements, the importance of voting, but also discussing the topics and the issues that directly affect our marginally perceived communities like reproductive health, like, mass incarceration, like mental health, especially with black and brown queer folks and black and brown men. So we have events like our Move to the Polls event that we're having in Atlanta, which is going to bring together this community, do a unity event, provide resources from food to name change to voter registration. I also will be in DC next week to help with Trans Fund for Generations and Sister Song with their pre-reproductive health conference. So we'll be going in there creating safe spaces for all people within the community to discuss what does mental health, sexual health, wellness, and harm reduction look like for them, and how can we strategize these ways to bring it back to community. So whether it's event curation, whether it's privately curating these conversations, or whether it's publicly then taking those same events and conversations and saying, as 2 a.m. Ricky, I'm going to bring this to the public and uplift this in a different type of way. I help that across the board. And I help them with building out their digital campaigns too.
Oh wow. So can you tell us, is the mental health and the reproductive justice, is that one of the things that's just close to you, or is that personal?
Both. I am a Black trans man who is also a cancer survivor. And I was diagnosed with uterine cancer at the age of 22. And so to have to navigate going through sickness and IVF and being guinea pigged because I'm black, I'm queer, I'm trans, I'm so many others that the medical field already doesn't know how to properly take care of us. Um, to almost losing my life because I was guinea pigged so bad. But this whole time, I'm still 2A and Ricky, so the public had no idea. To the public, I just lost weight. To the public, I might have just cut my hair. No one knew what was going on.
Oh my god, that's that is a lot.
Mhm.
So how has the trans experience been for you?
It's amazing. I get to be myself. The trans experience is a beautiful experience. It's the most beautiful experience you can have because you're walking into your authenticity.
Right. Man, that is, oh man, you are definitely one that we need to do a billboard for you.
Hey, let's do
We really
it.
do. See, this is what authenticity is supposed to be about. Because if you can't be you, then who the hell can you be?
Where can we go if we can't go to Bellinoches?
Look, as a trailblazer, how do you navigate challenges and break down barriers in the music industry?
Well, for one, besides Jackie Shane, there has not been too many mainstream Black trans artists. When it comes to Black trans masc people, meaning people who are more masculine identified, female to male like myself, etc., for those who may not know what that means, I'm the first. And so every time I walk into a room, every time y'all see 2 a.m. Ricky pop up on your screen like it is right now, every time I'm on networks and I'm reaching out to people like I reached out to you, that's breaking down a barrier. Because that's me taking a step as a person of a community that I'm often told I don't deserve to be here. That just sending that mate message, they're gonna reject me because of who I am. Every time I'm bold enough to say, I ain't worried about that. That's
Right,
breaking down a barrier because I'm teaching somebody else how to turn around and say, well, I ain't worried about that either. And then I'm
right,
able to also in my space uplift and bring up others who are also breaking down barriers as well. I have worked with Never Ending Nina, who is an amazing singer. If y'all have not checked out Never Ending Nina, look her up, please. You know what I'm saying? I've worked with Angelica Ross. So being able to also use my platform to bring along my sisters who are also marginally perceived and bring a space of unity that our community, whether you're queer or whether you just black, normally is not accustomed to. I'm
right,
helping people to not only learn how to be authentic and how to remove the label and listen to the music, but I'm actually helping all of us. It don't matter what you label yourself as, to remember how to remove the barriers and remove the labels and see the intersectionality of it and reunify us.
wow, that's what's up. People that are out there listening, I want y'all to listen to this positivity and what it is to believe in you and go after what you want. You are the perfect example of that. How do you use your platform to raise awareness about mental health issues, especially within the LGBTQ plus community?
So, with I do a lot of discussions, whether it be panels, whether it be workshops. I also do different content pieces a lot where I'll talk about mental health. But I also dive into it a lot in my music. My latest album is called Listen If You Lonely. I put it out last year. You do not have to be lonely to listen, y'all. Go check it out. Cause I did that, and I had a lady come up to me in the store and say, "Mr. 2 a.m., that song was good, but I felt called out. I felt like you was talking about me, calling me lonely. You ain't gotta be lonely."
Okay.
But the purpose of listen if you're lonely is the factor of we're all lonely somewhere, whether you want to talk about it or not. You all have triggers and traumas and Pandora's boxes that you got hid somewhere that you might not want to open up to the world because of how the world may judge you. So let's all sit down together and I'm gonna open my box and you open your box and let's see what we got in common. And so
Mm,
listen if you lonely dissects. If you were to give a masculine presenting person, especially a black person, a diary, what would we have to talk about?
ooh,
Whether you're gay, whether you're trans, whether you're a lesbian, whether you're bisexual, if you're masked and brown and you had a diary, what would our pages look like? And when
mm,
you flip through, you're listening if you're lonely. By the time you get through the album, we're talking about mental health. We're talking about interpersonal violence from a masculine perspective. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about sex. We're talking about real experiences we deal with, like traumas and death and grief and the lack of being able to carry those things, or sometimes having to carry them all without a space to lean into. And what does that look like?
mm. That's something to think about. That's very thought provocative. Tell me this: when you first, when you came here, and you first, when you got into your music, and you was doing music here in Atlanta, um, what was it a struggle for you to actually get into the industry in the beginning?
Yeah, I think that the industry is hard to get in anyways. And when people be like, "Oh, the industry is a good old boys game," it is, y'all, and they don't play fair. I think that it was in especially hard for me because I'm openly trans,
Mm,
meaning I was already writing music when I started my transition. And so
mhm,
people have been able to watch my, if you're a real 2 a.m. Ricky fan, you've been able to watch my transition all of these years. Like I still have records that are out that have me pre-transit. You hear the voice change, you hear all these things. And so for me, it's sometimes especially difficult because all they got to do is go on Google and I'm exposed when I walk into a room. And that raises safety concerns, that
mhm.
raises personal concerns, but I think bigger than anything, it just makes me work harder. I
Wow.
tell everyone that your pen is your biggest power. And so it doesn't really matter what they say. It doesn't really matter what people think. What matters is playback. What matters is when a person is trying to listen to a song to sing it for a TV show, which is how I got a Tyler Perry theme song, or when a person is looking for a record to give it to an artist, which is how I got music with CC Peniston, or when a
Mhm.
person needing a playback to see do they want to stream and buy that record, which is how I got a plaque. My pen has more power than anything that anyone's personal opinion. And so
Mm.
as long as you know that and as long as you believe that, it will carry you way further than anyone's ego, any fear, any doubt within even your own self can.
Wow. Now, you just said a whole lot, but that's interesting. Um, so what self-care practices do you prioritize to maintain your mental well-being?
Very heavy into therapy. Get you a therapist, please, if you ain't got one. I also am very big into like fitness and health and wealth. So I exercise a lot. I go to Muay Thai and kickboxing. Um, and really, and I pray a lot. I'm very spiritual, so I'm really into prayer. If y'all ever find my bag, I pray y'all never find my bag. But if you ever see my bag out on the street, there's a Bible hidden to it. So I'm praying, I'm carrying my Bible, I'm doing Muay Thai early in the mornings to start my day. And always just reminding myself that at the end of the day, I got myself here. Me and God did this, nobody else did. So no matter what I'm dealing with during the day, they can't stop it.
I like that. Could you share your perspective on productive justice and its importance, especially for the marginalized communities?
Reproductive justice is the right to say that your body is your own. And therefore, you have the right to do whatever pleases and keeps it healthy and safe. And I think that when you look at Black and Brown communities, which historically, we've always been stripped of our right of our own bodies. We've been sold into slavery. We've been raped by slave masters. We've been told what our bodies are only meant and built to be. It's especially important for our communities to take hold of that right, to make sure that we're not just being guinea pigged when we go into these spaces, but you know when you walk into your doctor's office what questions to ask because you know what you're feeling, you know what you're needing. You're aware and cognizant to say that, okay, I don't like what this says. I need a second opinion. Because again, historically, we've been used for medicine. We've been used for everything. The black body is the most disrespected body besides the black woman. And so therefore, it's important for us to care for our body because they're not going to.
Mm. So let me ask you this now. This is a little bit off the cuff here. With this being, as you say, an election season, do you affiliate with any particular political party?
I affiliate with a party that is gonna make sure that when I me being black and trans can continue to exist. And any party who says that my transness and my blackness and my existence deserves to be erased is a party that I won't be voting for.
I tell you that I believe I feel you there because I had to do a special that I'm rebroadcasting tomorrow because you know I'm not affiliated with any party whatsoever. But just as
Mhm.
you said, it's the thing that I want to make sure people understand. If I want to continue to exist and if I want to have the opportunities to move forward, I pledged all my full-fledged support behind Kamala Harris, my full-fledged support. And so my thing is in trying to get these people out to vote because I think there's something going on that's brewing in the background that we do not know about. And I'm just trying to prepare for that.
I recently went to a trip. I can say this, y'all can look at my Instagram and see this. I recently was on a trip to the White House. I got invited to the White House to do some work with other future HIV/AIDS leaders and to help with restructuring the HIV/AIDS strategy. Again, I ain't nobody daddy. I got a daddy. I can't tell
Exactly.
no one what to do.
Exactly.
But what I can tell people is that not voting is you refusing the right to your own life. Not
Ooh,
voting is you for refusing the right to your own control. Not voting is you handing your identity over to someone else to make that choice for you, right? And
this,
so, even if you might not agree with everything that you're hearing in the media about either party, I don't know what people watching are feeling or thinking. You should care more about enough about your own life, about your own family, about your own spouse, your own mother, your own child, your nieces, your nephews, your brothers, your sisters, yourself to get up by November 5th and walk to a poll or get to a poll or do what you need to make sure you can get there to make that vote choice and vote. And again, going back to the work that I'm doing in the community, if for a reason you cannot make it to the poll, please reach out to me. Because for our move to the polls, we have a partnership with Her Ride app, and we are giving people free rides to the polls. So if for whatever reason y'all cannot make it and y'all are having issues, please reach out to me and my team, and we will make sure that y'all can get a ride to the poll to vote.
what aspects of your life as a transgender male do you want to highlight through your music and activism?
I think the biggest thing that I highlight about my life and existence as a black trans man through my work, through my advocacy, through everything I do is that my existence is just as valid and necessary and equal as anybody else's. I think that visibility is more than just saying we got one in the room, check that box off. It's also giving the person the right to walk into a room, and my transness and who I am doesn't always have to be the topic of conversation. I want to walk into a room and live just like anybody else. I want to walk into a room and not have to be othered just like anybody else and have equal opportunities and be sane just the same as anyone else.
Yeah. How do you incorporate intersectional themes into your music and lyrics?
I like women who like women too. My lyrics are very intersectional. My conversations are very intersectional. I don't hide, I don't sugarcoat who I am, my identities, my demographics, my people who I care for, who I speak to. I don't hide it. And I think that that's a very big thing because especially in this day and age, we're seeing a lot of mainstream artists who might not generally associate, especially with queer demographics, now migrating over to these spaces. Um, but it's very rare that you see it on the other end, that you see a queer person who's able to go into a cishet or what's considered a straight space comfortably and confidently. And I think that I'm one of the few who was able to do those things, but also take the music aside. When I'm doing my advocacy work and we're having these conversations, I remind people that I don't wake up and get to choose to be trans or be black. It's not like a one or the other thing. We just do both at the same time. And so helping people to understand that they too can do both at the same time. They can exist in their masculinity but still be vulnerable. You can exist in your blackness and still have this. You know what I'm saying? You can be trans and still have power. So always constantly reminding people of those things, both within work and art and conversation, helps everything flow cohesively.
Oh wow. Why is representation crucial in the music industry, and how do you contribute to it?
Representation is crucial within the industry because without representation, we one are stripping an entire community and percentage of the world of knowing that their gifts and their talents are valid, right? Two, music is one of the biggest forms of communication. You can go across the world and not know each other's language, but you can play a song and y'all can unify together. And when you lack representation, you lack unity because you lack that healing space for people to be in the same room and the same table to sit back when the record is over and say, now let's talk. Now let's heal. Now let's bond. Because when I'm going into a studio session with someone, that's what we're doing. We're sharing our lives experiences. I can go in a room with a gangster rapper. We're sharing live experiences. We're talking about both of our traumas. And now we're dealing on that intersectionality. Now we're building that bridge. Now we're building that gap. And for myself, the first black trans man to top any music chart. Number 3 on iTunes electronic charts. 2 times number 1 on the LGBTQ urban charts. Grammy considered. And we're gonna go ahead and claim in existence this year that I'm gonna get this Grammy nomination. I'm breaking down walls and ain't taking no names with the asses that I'm kicking
I
because
like
I
that.
want to lay a road that the generations to come we floodgating. That
Right,
that 3 years from now, people talking about 10. I don't want 10 years from now. Give me 3. Because I didn't did a lot in a couple. Give me 3. Three
right,
years from now, I don't want to be the only one. I
right.
wanted to be a couple of us, more
Oh,
than a couple.
there
You
you
feel
go.
what I'm saying?
Yes,
Like
sir.
10
Uh,
years from now, Jackie Shane need to look down from heaven and be like, her and Marsha and Monica need to all be sitting in heaven with their bonnets like, what is happening? Because their children are
yeah,
flooding the industry just like we did in Stonewall, just like we did with the original March on Washington. We bringing that same flood into the industry.
yes, yes, yes. I like that. And you know something? I think who better lead that charge than you?
You know?
Seriously, who better lead that charge than you? Because I think your representation or your presentation, you know, it has the strength to carry. So if it has the strength to carry, and there are those that want that same thing that want to follow, I'm sure that it would be very easy for them to fall in line.
We shall see. Only time will tell.
Yes, sir. What challenges have you faced as a transgender artist, and what moments have brought you the most joy? What moments brought you the most joy?
I deal with what most people can expect to experience. I get discriminated against. I deal with bias. I deal with safety issues. I think one of the biggest moments for me was when Move made number 3 on iTunes.
Mhm.
Um, because I've been sitting on that record for a couple years. And when I originally did that record, I was in a space where I was just not getting my foot in the industry. I was just not really getting to know the who's. And I'll never forget one, the experience of someone who is a very well-known music exec looking me dead in my face and saying, "You're extremely talented, but we would never, ever let a trans man take over our industry. It's a
Oh,
man's industry. You in a man's game," because I'm in the urban world.
mhm.
And having to sit back and swallow that. Really sit with that. And then they also told me that when it comes to how the industry view people, that I was viewed less than a woman because of my identity. And that
Oh,
made me turn around and say, well, how do y'all view women? Because it's kind of steep.
yeah,
um, and
very.
so to turn around and not even 3 years, 2 years later, I got a number three. I beat BBL Drizzy with a
Okay.
black woman.
Okay.
You feel what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yes. Yes.
It gave me that full circle moment of, again, it don't matter what they say. It matter about what that pen do. They can't stop that pen.
Exactly. Um, are there any dream collaborations you'd love to explore in your music career?
I would love to do a record with Janelle Monáe.
Oh God, that would be awesome. Y'all,
Oh my gosh.
that song would have a baby. It would. I could actually see that.
Hope it has twins. Like
Yeah, because I love
Janelle
Janelle
Monáe
as well.
for sure. I
Mhm.
want a record with Janelle Monáe. I also want a record with Smino. I don't know if you're familiar with Smino. Smino is absolutely phenomenal. If y'all have not heard Smino, check Smino out. I want a record with Smino. I want a record with Janelle Monáe. And I want a record with Trinidad James.
Oh
I
God.
know people are gonna look and be like, Trinidad, if you are not hip to culture, yes, Trinidad James. And the reason why I say Trinidad is probably the most underappreciated and underrated person shifting music culture.
You think so?
Um, I do. And I say that because when people actually do their research on who's actually like moving around in the industry, Trinidad James is who's behind all of these female artists that we're seeing going viral and going mainstream and successful. Trinidad James has navigated the fashion industry. Trinidad James has built a reputation that for those who are within the music industry, he's the mover, the silent mover, and the silent shaker, and the silent person that is able to flow within any space, in any culture, in any community, and genuinely tries to unify it without having to have his name up front. And I think that there is beauty to the impact that Trinidad has silently had. I wish that more people will give Trinidad their flowers. And I'm looking forward to the day that our superpowers collide because I admire what Dad is doing. And I think that between what he's doing and what I'm doing, we just might shake the world up.
Mm, that would be interesting. So, what kind of song do you think that would be?
Mm. We would do, I would mix my house music feel. I
Hmm.
would mix my house feel with his urban feel,
Yeah,
and
so
then we
he's
gotta
very
have a beat, and we gotta have a beat switch in there to chill it out.
so.
But here's the
Is
thing:
it doing like this?
Trinidad is actual really funky. If people like, if you actually dig into his catalog, he
Uh-huh.
isn't only like trap music. He has a lot of like funky music that would align with like an Anderson .Paak, would align with like a James Brown. No, no. While y'all playing, me and Trinidad would give y'all a record that and it would give Anderson .Paak a run for his money.
Oh wow, that's what's up.
If you've ever seen a Trinidad James performance, I went to his all gold function. He gives you James Brown. Like he gives you full James Brown guitars, everything. It's
Mm,
it's it's, it's a function.
wow. Um, what advice would you give aspiring musicians, especially those from underrepresented backgrounds?
For one, I would say it's not about where you going, where you come from. It's about where you going. I know that sounds really, really cliche, but I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where it's rural, it's southern, it's country, and it's violent. You know what I'm saying? And I'm 27 now, and I've been gone from there since I was 16, and I'm successful, degreed, doing everything that at one point I was told that a person from where I'm from wouldn't live long enough to see these things get done. So that's the number one thing I would tell anyone. And then two, keep believing in you. Because the moment that you dim your own light and you let it go out, that's it.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one too. Um, Share a memorable performance experience that left a lasting impact on you.
One of my most memorable performances was I recently performed at Moby Fest NYC. Shout out to the Moby team. And I got to perform with Azion, Duran Bernard, Victor Jackson, Albanus Theory, and MKXYZ. So one amazing lineup. And to perform in a sold out arena place venue space in New York with my birth family in the room. Both my birth family, my foster family, my adopted family, in a space. As a person who navigated the foster system, that was a moment that was full circle and really, really brought tears to my eyes.
Mhm. How has your music evolved over time, and what can listeners expect from your future work?
I think that as I grow and mature, so does my music. I love the fact that my audience has been able to grow with me. Like I feel like they basically have watched me grow up and how they hear it in the
Right.
music. And so for one, in all the new music that you're about to hear, because I am dropping a new album. Charles, you just got the latest scoop. I'm dropping a new album next year at the top of the year in spring.
Okay.
Um, and so fans will be able to hear, of course, the growth, the catch up, but they also will be able to see a more vulnerable side. Um, as my music progresses and as I learn more of myself, I become more comfortable with how I share. And so I think that as 2 a.m. Ricky's success grows, my audience is now getting to learn Amir now
Mhm.
and really reintroduce like the human to y'all.
So tell me this: with that, with the new album that you're saying you're going to be dropping real soon, um, can you tell us what was the inspiration behind that new project that's about to drop?
People listen if you lonely and they were still lonely, Charles.
Oh, okay.
No, I think that really the inspiration behind it is that it's very easy. Again, black and brown. It's very easy for black and brown, especially Southern folks, when your people have only seen so much. When you see someone gain something and something that looks like success, it's very easy for us to think that things just take off and we forget. You know what I'm saying? Like this still little Ray Ray that we used to babysit and change his diapers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that I'm at a point in my life where, for one, I just turned 27. I've been out on my own. I've been in and out of the foster system since I was 11, 12 years old. I've been on my own since I was 16. So like I didn't hit a decade of being grown and ain't really been able to be grown for real. Cause those were
Right.
technically my teen years. And so it's my space of y'all being able to learn what has really been happening to me while the world thinks this has all been beautiful. So what have I been grieving? What have I been hurting? Because with every success that looks good to y'all, it's actually me just getting my just surviving, and it just looks turns out great from the outside. So
Right.
allowing people to really unpack that, because when people know your journey, they can appreciate your wins with you more.
How do you connect with your fans and build a supportive community around your music?
I try to be very hands-on, very direct. I do everything from Instagram lives to responding directly to fans to making sure that I also do events throughout the months, if especially if I'm touring, that my friends can just connect with me. So like Last week, I partnered with Black ATL. We did a queer karaoke and gave away Kalani tickets. You know what I mean? I'll do Instagram lives and randomly let my fans write songs with me. I make sure I respond to messages. I send birthday video messages. I do birthday call. I do all those type of things to like make sure my people know I really love and appreciate y'all the way y'all love and appreciate me. And that this is a mutual relationship. This isn't just buying and paying to an artist who doesn't really love you for real.
Mm. Do you think sometimes that those that have been in the industry a little bit longer than yourself could learn a thing or two from the way you interact with fans and how you are always so humble about your beginnings and where you are now?
I mean, yeah, but a hard head make a soft ass, so I can't tell nobody nothing that think they know it.
Right. Because, I think what I've seen with a lot of artists, and it's not like I know artists, especially when you're in the music industry, it's kind of like it's a whole different person. So that part is understood. But I think the human element, you can't let that just go away. And I'm just wondering, like, what is it about the industry you think that's actually doing that to a lot of artists?
I think a lot of people don't realize the weight that comes with being an artist. Like
Mhm.
being 2A and Ricky is a job, and it's a hard one because from the moment I wake up to the moment I close my eyes, I'm on the clock. You feel what I'm saying? I go in public. If I go in public with my family, you feel what I'm saying? I might not always be able to give a response, a human response, because someone there is gonna want me to be Ricky because they don't understand that separation. So I think that one, there's a level of grace that I think we got to start giving artists more
Mhm.
because people don't really recognize the weight that's carried. You have the world on your shoulders. You have all these fans on your shoulders. But then you have the rest of the society and the rest of social media and rest of everyone else who has a say so in every move that you make. But then you have this industry who also wants to move you like a puppet to have this say so. So it's
Mhm.
very difficult to one build that level of separation, and it's very easy to get lost in it once it's built, right? Meaning 2 a.m. Ricky and Amir are separated, but I have people in my life who will never acknowledge me as 2 a.m. Ricky to keep me humble. I got
Mhm.
people in my life who
Okay.
make sure that they humble me and keep me in a space of humility. I take a day, no matter how busy I am, to keep myself in a certain space. So I think the biggest battle, the reason why artists get wrapped up is because once you make it to a certain threshold, it's easier to get lost in it and it's hard to get yourself out and keep yourself humble. That's the real challenge.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Can you point to a specific song where your activism shines through the lyrics?
Oh, that's a good one. If I had to pick a specific song where my activism shines through the lyrics,
Mhm.
then I would tell y'all to look out for my new single with Never Ending Nina that's dropping soon
Mhm.
called T for T. That's gonna be it. That's probably the biggest advocacy record I've done.
Wow. Okay. What would make that the biggest though?
Intentionality, for
Okay.
one. When
Okay.
have y'all ever seen a mainstream black trans man and a mainstream black trans woman drop a record together? That's for one. It's for
That's
one. Just saying.
Mhm.
Um, and then two, the record is very universal. It's a unifying record. It's literally talking about the intersectionality of it and that it's time for us to remove the labels and remove the barriers and remove the things that say you either got to be black first and queer second or vice versa. And let's just talk. Let's talk about the truth. Let's take a moment of love. Let's take a moment to really just lay it on the table and realize we one and the same.
Can you give some advice to the people in our audience as to why it's okay to support and to give people a chance that look like them to have an opportunity?
Yeah. I think that in the end of the day, everybody in the world wants to be accepted. It
Mm-hmm.
don't matter who you are. It don't matter where you from. You could be the hardest thug in the hood. Everybody wants to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at someone who looks like you and you say, you may look like me, but I'm better than you, cuz you feel what I'm saying? You just first of all project it to yourself. Because at the end of the day, y'all both brown, y'all both bleed red blood. It honestly don't matter your outside color. Everybody bleeding the same blood. Your red is the same shade of my red, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're othering yourself, you're projecting that. You're creating an unnecessary division. And you're also cutting yourself off from a potential blessing. Because at the end of the day, the same people who a lot of folks will try to look down on and not try to acknowledge and not try to give grace and opportunity to are the same people that a lot of things and a lot of blessings flow from. People try to silence black queer folks and divide it from the black movement a lot of times. But when we look at, again, Mark John Washington and anything else that's led, those are black queer people. We one
Mm-hmm.
and the same.
Which of your songs do you believe has made the most significant impact on your audience?
The song that's made the most significant impact on my audience would have to be Cream. Cream is a record that I released last year. That's that I like women who like women who like women too. And it was Grammy considered for best melodic rap performance last year.
Mm.
That's also the record that honestly made a lot of people who didn't already realize I was trans because they wanted to start know why I was a man rapping about lesbianism.
you, you know, okay, that I would have never thought about that. Being honest, um, how do you strike a balance between creating art and advocating for social change?
They're the same thing, so I don't have to. When I advocate, that is art.
Oh,
Um, and I'm a type of person that I don't see how you can create art without advocating for something. Even when you're creating art for yourself, you're advocating for your own voice to be heard, your own story to be projected. So there is no division between one or the other. They're one and the same.
well, I think when you look at when you say advocating, or creating, I think when you advocate, I think it's kind of like it's a little bit, for some, I think you kind of look at it as in, from the literal perspective that I want you to do this. You know, I think in
Mhm.
the song, I think when you're creating like music, such as the great music that you create, I think when you create for people to learn, to love, and to listen. And so I'm just wondering, is that when they say advocating though, are they is advocating actually asking, like the side of actually pushing for something?
Advocating can be the side of pushing for something. Advocating can also be the space of educating you enough for you to make that decision on your own. Um, and influencing someone to be able to do so. And so being able to create songs like The Well, for instance, where that entire song is a conversation with God about the struggles that I face because of the lack of people understanding my identity and the intersectionality of it. When people hear those things and they and they're understanding what I'm saying, it's still a space of advocacy because they're still hearing the same issues that if I sit on a panel and say, as a black trans man, I experience X, Y, and Z, they're still hearing me tell that same story and they're still getting that same message. I think that as a songwriter, there is a way that you can create your art that still has an undermined call to action
Mhm.
embedded into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. What legacy do you hope to leave as an artist, and what goals are you working toward?
Right now, we're gonna continue to speak that Grammy into existence. I don't
Yes.
want just a Grammy though. I want bigger than that. I want to, when I leave this earth, I want a Michael Jackson influence without all the records. Meaning, I want to be able to know that I've left a legacy of unity. I've left a legacy that shows people that they can show up as their authentic selves. I want people to no longer see the division between artists and see the label on the artist. And I hope that by the time I leave this earth, that visibility isn't a conversation we have to have. It just is.
Mm. I definitely understand that. You know, I do. I still am kind of starstruck, if you want to know the truth, because I'm really honored. That such a groundbreaking individual such as yourself, is here, and you're spreading knowledge, wealth, and love. Just throughout this entire country, throughout this show, and for many places that people can see it. And I just want to know, like, how do you keep up the strength to keep going?
Uh, I got two praying grandmas, 175 and 190.
Grandma will do it.
Okay. And
Grandma will
I'm gonna
do it.
be real with you. I'm a spiritual and praying person, but there are days that it's too much. There are days more often than people realize that I'll be ready to throw my hat and say, I just want to be 26. I just want to be 27. I've never known what that feels like. I've never been, when people say act your age, I've never been that child that's been allowed that privilege. Growing up, I didn't have that. By my teenage years, I'm here with y'all. You know what I mean? Um, and on those days, I call my grandma, I call my best friends, I let them pray for me, I let them let me cry it out, I let myself be human, and I separate. And I think that that's a tip that we all can take, that no matter what you do and what your world brings to you, it's okay to give yourself a 10-minute break from the world to break, rebuild, and release.
Mm. Well, you can't answer nothing better than that. So, are you doing any tours, up and coming?
Yes, 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 yes. We have some more show dates coming up. We have performances from Global Black Pride. I'll be performing at Global Black Pride weekend here in Atlanta, Georgia next weekend. I will be receiving the Pioneer of Culture Award at the Trans Life Awards on the 31st at the National Human and Civil Rights Museum here in Atlanta, Georgia. I will be at the I Am Awards in Washington, D.C. in October, and I am headlining Blue Ridge Pride in Asheville, North Carolina on September 21st. So if y'all are near the Carolinas, pull up. Myself and Miss Lala Ree will be in the building.
Oh, wow. Well, um, if is there anything that's a very positive message that you could leave for our audience? Um, what would that be?
Well, for one, make sure y'all go get my new single Move. Get it, download it, stream it, go on iTunes, purchase it. It's only $1.29. I feel like y'all might have that. Um and one, Charles, thank you for allowing me to be here. And thank y'all for being an amazing and beautiful audience. Keep being you, keep being beautiful, keep believing in the God that it was within you and the God that is above you, and everything will work out.
Well, I hope that we can have you back again on the show, because truly this was more than just groundbreaking for me.
Thank you.
You know, I want to. Yeah, I'll make sure that we do everything possible to actually spotlight and highlight this particular broadcast. We want to make sure that it gets out to an enormous amount of people.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And for those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel, please hit the subscriptions button and hit the notifications button right underneath to ensure that once if you're going to miss the show, you'll have it where you'll know you have any chance to go back. You can always watch it. I'd like to thank you to Ricky again for for helping our audience to learn a whole lot more about the great experiences of life and the positivities of life. And We will see you guys for another show next week. And I thank you all for being here. You all have a wonderful evening.
Thank y'all.